I'm joined now by Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville. He's been in Mobile making visits to Austell, Airbus, and he stopped by the FOX10's studios. I want to thank you for stopping in today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, first up, I do have to ask you about the comments made during a rally where you said Democrats were pro-crime because they wanted reparations. What did you mean by that?
Well, it had nothing to do with race. You know, the crime has no color. I mean, we've got crime all over this country, and the people, the taxpayers, deserve safe streets, safe neighborhoods. But my colleagues on the left, for some reason, they won't come out and speak out against it. Our criminal justice system's out of whack. We don't put anybody in jail. We don't hold anybody accountable. And the people of this country deserve safe streets and safe neighborhoods. And if we don't get control of it, it's going to get worse.
I do want to follow up and ask you, the president of the NAACP, he did describe your comments as racist and said that they were sickening and asked for an apology. What's your response to that?
Well, I would apologize if I meant anything about race, but it wasn't. You know, like I said, race has no color. Reparation would have no color, because anybody that does anything wrong, that thinks they deserve it, is absolutely wrong in this country. We can't have a country that chooses winners and losers, basically. We have to have people that go by law and order. We've had problems for the last few years. They've been getting worse. And it's not just petty crimes. It is murder. You know, now we're having all the fentanyl problems, the border, all those things going on. But it had nothing to do with race. Everything had to do, that came from me, had to do with people doing things the wrong way, breaking the law, but not being held accountable because of the actions of my Democratic colleagues.
Now, you mentioned taxpayers, and the midterm elections are coming up fast. I want to talk to you about inflation and the economy, because those topics are top of mind for voters. What are some of your strategies to turn things around with inflation being the way it is? Well,
inflation is there for two reasons. Number one, we've shut out basically fossil fuels. You can't run a country and our economy without fossil fuels. Everything takes some kind of fuel. Basically, my Democratic colleagues want to use electricity as our energy. Well, that's fine, but it's going to be fueled by fossil fuels. So that's one thing. But the other is, since I've been in the Senate for 20 months, we've spent $5 trillion more than our normal budget. You can't put that much money out into the public and not have inflation. It's going to keep getting worse. We have to cut taxes, we have to cut regulations, and we have to quit spending money. If we keep doing those, if we keep spending money, it's just going to get worse and worse.
I do want to talk to you about a bill that's very important to you, and this is the Supporting Families of the Fallen. And that increases life insurance for our service members of $500,000. The first time that's been done in quite a while. Why was that so important to you?
Well, I'm on the Armed Services Committee. I'm also on the Veterans Committee. I believe in our armed services, our veterans. Heaven forbid somebody lose a loved one in action. We haven't changed the amount of insurance in 17 years. Yeah. And in a Democratic Congress, I got it through the House, I got it through the Senate, and President Biden signed it. That doesn't happen very often, but I'm proud for, not that it makes a lot of difference to a lot of people. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's very, very important to maybe one or two people that might lose a loved one in action.
Absolutely. And you know, you just mentioned you are a member of the Armed Forces Committee. Mobile, as you know, home to Austell USA and Airbus. You took a tour of the facilities. I want to talk about some of the wins that we're working on for Mobile's defense industries and securing more money for Austell to build more ships.
Yeah, well, we're way behind in a lot of areas, and ships are one of them. Austell is going to be a big factor in this country, in our national defense against China. We've been fighting all these wars for 20 years on land in the Middle East. Now we're transitioning to the Indo-Pacific, where it's water. Tanks don't float. And so we've got to build more ships. Austell is going to be a big part of that. They build all kinds of ships. They build medical ships. They build ships for the Coast Guard. And they've been a tremendous addition in the last 20 years to this area, and they will continue to grow.
I wanted to talk to you about the NIL bill that you're working on with Manchin. You know, right on your press release here, it says Coach Tommy Tuberville. So talking about, you know, protecting student athletes for fair competition, what would your bill presume?
Well, we've been working on it for, I guess, about 4 or 5 months now. Joe Manchin and myself. You need a Democrat to get Democratic votes because it has to go through the House and Senate. I'm a Republican. I know a little bit about this, and I'm for players making money. But the problem we have right now, there's no legislation, there's no rules that every state has to go by the same factors. You know, there has to be guidelines. And so what Joe Manchin and I are trying to do is we're trying to put everything in one piece of paper and say, listen, if you're going to recruit an athlete, whether it's women, men, whether it's for any sport, you have to go by these guidelines, all 50 states. We can do that. And so he and I have been working close together for the last 4 or 5 months. We're making progress. It's going to take a while, but we need to save college sports. We need to save it, and we can, but we just got to do it the right way, and everybody's got to be on the same page. Every state's got to do it the same way.
And I do want to get one more question in there about the border. You know, Customs reporting 2.3 million migrant apprehensions on the southern border in just the last 12 months. That's a lot. What do you think is the solution to solving the problem at the border?
Well, I'm going to the border Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week. I've been down there, and it's a mess. We've let in 5 million illegal immigrants in the last 20 months. And that's more people in the entire state of Alabama. We can't function that way. And not just people, we're letting fentanyl, we're letting traffickers come in, and it's bringing a lot of crime with it. So what we have to do is we have to get legislation to say, listen, you can't come across this border and take advantage of our system. Right now they get a cell phone, they get hotel vouchers, they get a Medicaid card, they get an airplane ticket to wherever they want to go, and then we house them. And that's costing taxpayers millions and millions and millions of dollars. So the solution is they come to the border, we let them come in if we think they deserve to come in. We just don't allow them to come in, release them all over the country, and say, okay, show back up at this date at this courthouse, and we will pretty much put you on trial at that time. We can't do it the way we're doing it. It's really out of control.
It has been a long problem, and it will take a lot of work to address it.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir, for stopping by.
Thank you.